When most gardeners talk about comfrey, they speak of it like a miracle plant. It's praised for making one of the richest compost teas, for mining nutrients from deep in the soil, and for producing lush, leafy biomass you can cut down again and again. Some even call it green gold. But here's the part that rarely makes it into the conversation. Comfrey can also become a real headache if you plant it without knowing the risks. Today, I want to peel back that glossy layer and show you the hidden side of comfrey, the things gardeners don't always tell you until it's too late. First, let's talk about comfrey's root system. This plant doesn't just grow roots, it drills them. Comfrey's taproot can dive 10 feet into the ground, pulling up minerals and nutrients other plants can't reach. That sounds great, right? The problem is that once comfrey is established, those deep roots make it almost impossible to remove. Digging it up? Forget it. If you leave even a thumb-sized piece of root in the ground, it will sprout again. Many gardeners who planted comfrey without a plan quickly discover they're stuck with it forever. The second challenge is how aggressively comfrey spreads. While most gardeners grow a sterile variety called bocking 14, which doesn't produce viable seeds, not everyone realizes this distinction. If you accidentally plant a variety that sets seed, comfrey will self-seed like wildfire. Suddenly, you've got it popping up between rows, in paths, and even in places where you wanted something else to grow. What was once a controlled plant turns into a weedy invader, and good luck getting it out once it's rooted in. Another downside people don't often mention is placement. Comfrey is a large, leafy plant that can easily overshadow smaller crops. It thrives in full sun, grows nearly waist-high, and spreads wide, creating heavy shade. If you drop it into the middle of your vegetable garden, thinking it will just be a useful companion, you might end up with a patch that hogs space and light. For smaller gardens especially, one or two poorly placed comfrey plants can feel like they've taken over the entire plot. Now, let's not ignore the maintenance side. Comfrey grows fast, and while that's part of what makes it so useful for chop-and-drop mulch or compost tea, it also means it demands attention. If you don't cut it back regularly, it quickly becomes an untidy, overgrown clump. And when those leaves die back in winter, they create a thick, slimy mess on the soil surface. For gardeners who prefer a neat and controlled space, comfrey can feel more like a chore than a helper. Finally, there's the risk of overusing it. Comfrey is nutrient-dense, especially rich in potassium, which is great for fruiting plants like tomatoes and peppers. But if you rely too heavily on comfrey tea or comfrey mulch, you risk unbalancing your soil. Too much potassium, without enough nitrogen or phosphorus to balance it out, can throw off the soil chemistry. That imbalance might leave you wondering why your plants have lush leaves but poor yields, or why certain crops aren't thriving despite feeding them with all that comfrey goodness. So, does this mean you shouldn't grow comfrey at all? Not at all. It's still one of the most powerful plants you can add to a permaculture or organic garden. But the key is caution. Think carefully about where you plant it, ideally on the edge of your garden, somewhere it can spread its roots without getting in the way. Make sure you're using a sterile variety like bocking 14 to avoid unwanted seedlings. And be prepared to commit, because once you plant comfrey, it's there for the long haul. In the end, comfrey really can be green gold, but only if you respect its nature. Too many gardeners rush in, plant it in the wrong spot, and regret it later when they're stuck battling an unmovable, overgrown clump. By learning the risks as well as the rewards, you can make comfrey work for you instead of against you. Treat it with respect, give it the right space, and you'll unlock its benefits without falling into the traps that catch so many gardeners by surprise.